Hello, I've been learning to speedrun Minecraft recently. Why, you may ask? Well, as some of you may know, there's a streamer called Ludwig. He does variety content, but currently he's trying his hand at speedrunning Minecraft. But what does that have to do with me? Nothing really. It's just that if you've seen him play, he's not the best at it by many metrics. But sitting comfortably watching a man mauled out of his mind is one thing, doing what he's trying his best at to prove he's bad is another, and that's what I'm here to do.
Now Ludwig is Col 1, he has been for roughly a month now, and my target is to clear that hurdle. For context, Col is the worst rank you can have, and being tier 1 is the worst placement you can be in, with 3 being the highest, so my competition isn't steep. To be clear, before I started doing runs, I was only a casual viewer of speedruns, not really understanding any tech, so I started by trying to learn the basics, and luckily for me, there's tutorials for everything. I'll link whatever I used in the description if YouTube will let me. I chose to watch through RecRap's 3-part guide on how to speedrun and didn't really watch anything outside of those videos. They were simple enough to follow and it gave me all I needed to get a handle on things. I didn't immediately start running, but instead practice on the MCSR practice worlds, doing simple things like building portals with obsidian, then doing it underwater, moving to bastions and tracking fortresses, as well as one cycling. I then grinded out practice games for maybe a week, learning from actual experience, and then began my placements. Okay, so we start our first game of rank by asking an important question: girl love or boy love? And our opponent replies with girl love because they're based. Sometimes people respond with HF, I don't know if that's a type of straight people or non-binary maybe, but anyways, our seed is a village. I begin by making my way to the blacksmith, grabbing the loot and prepping myself to fight the golem for my 2 remaining iron. You see, to enter the nether with no obsidian requires you to have 7 iron, 3 for a bucket to make the portal, 1 for a flint and steel, and 3 more for an iron pick. The pick is vital for when you're in the nether as you need to mine gold blocks. Since I get extra iron from the golem, I can craft shears. This is just so I can grab leaves to use for building when I'm in the nether. I get really unlucky with my flint RNG and have to break like 20 blocks of gravel to get my flint, and with it I go into the nether. This nether spawn is basically baby's first speedrunning seed, with the bastion and fortress located right next to the portal. Unfortunately, I'm not a baby, I'm a fetus and die in the bastion twice, losing a lot of time and my stuff. In short, I'm forced to reset the world and go again. My second chance goes the same way my first did, where I die a miserable death and need to go collect my stuff again. What are we doing? How? This time I sort myself out and actually begin routing the bastion, but my opponent has already begun finding the stronghold and I'm far behind. My only hope at this point is that they screw up badly. I think this is fine. And the whole night. As I enter the fortress, she's already in the stronghold, and when I finally find my blaze spawner, she's beaten the game. A tragic end to my first game with a huge loss in confidence for me.
We begin game 2 with the same question and we have yet another girl lovinger. This seed is also a village, get used to those, we'll be seeing a lot of them. This blacksmith only has 5 iron, so I'm again forced to kill another innocent golem. I do thankfully get enough for shears too, so I have blocks when I enter the nether. There's a lava and gravel nearby and I get my flint quickly this time, allowing me to enter the nether a few seconds quicker than my opponent. I mine some gold nuggets to make armor so I don't have to deal with the angry piglins. I then make my way to the bastion and start routing down it. Stables.
Oh, that could have been bad. God, they take so much effort to kill. From practice, I know that there's a hidden section behind this wall.
This actually doesn't have a 100% chance to generate and can be very annoying for people who run on non-filtered seeds, but I don't have to deal with that.
What? Oh, he's a stupid rat, like whatever. Hello, get in the hole. Get in the hole. In the hole.
I killed the pig outside the hole because there'll be an issue when I start collecting my other deposit of gold. I chuck them the rest of the gold and go up to the bastion to try and collect the chests at the top.
Is this out? Yeah. Okay, hopefully that dude doesn't notice it.
I have all I need and start using PyDar to find the fortress. Allow me to explain PyDar simply. I use the pie chart in the bottom right to see when a spawner loads in my render distance. Then I knock my render distance down by 1 and walk in the 4 cardinal directions into another chunk to see when blue appears on the pie chart. This means I found a spawner and should head that way. One type of bastion does include a spawner, but that's not an issue at the moment. I arrive at the fortress pretty quickly and begin finding my spawner. Luckily I arrive on the open roof part of the fort, which is good because the blaze spawner will never be placed in an enclosed area. Once I'm at the spawner, I explode the area around it to allow for faster blaze spawns and then start complaining about the abysmal rod drops I'm getting.
That land in the fire. Chop chop. Ow. What are these abysmal rod drops, by the way? I'll be answer your hair. Please stop dropping your fire. Ah, Jennifer. I mean,
finally get to leave the nether to start my blind almost a whole 4 minutes later. If you don't know what a blind is, it's the step of leaving the nether, throwing a couple of hive enders, zooming in on them, laying a calc is short for calculator by the way, I'm just using slang, do all the work, and now knowing where the coordinates to the stronghold is. Does this sound like cheating? Yes, but I'll leave the rule managing to people who care, and they say it's allowed. So we're back in the nether because 1 block traveled here is 8 in the overworld. I grab an extra rod for good luck and begin strip mining to the stronghold. It is better to use a boat so you're in a 1x1 hole, but I don't care enough. I get to the cords, build my portal, spawn into the stronghold, and find the end portal near instantly. Do I have a bed? I do not have a bed. I might actually die to these guys. Yo, chill. After getting mauled by the silverfish, I start prepping for the fight only to realize I do not have enough materials to one cycle due to the concerning lack of wood in my inventory. To now quickly explain one cycling is when the dragon begins to perch at the fountain and you use beds to blow up the dragon, aligning the bed's pillar with a tiny hitbox found inside the head hitbox of the dragon. For reference, with no stress and under perfect practice scenarios, it takes me 5 to 7 beds. I had only 4 explosives on me. Needless to say, I was screwed, especially since I forgot to craft a bow and didn't have enough wood to do so when I entered the end. This did in fact cost me the run and my opponent ended up winning. I was so close, and yet I fumbled the game out of my hands. Game 3, Girl Love or Boy Love. An actual response this time, Village. Insta 12 iron. There's actually a ruined portal nearby and I loot it hoping for flint, but I just end up with a surprising amount of choice regarding what sort of enchant I want on my gold chestplate. I probably should have grabbed the tools, but I don't. After getting to the river for wood and flint, I need to go all the way to the far side of the village for food, which is annoying as hell, but we make our way to the nether regardless. I then E-ray to find the bastion. I haven't explained E-raying yet, but basically there's a counter in the top leftish of the F3 screen, which counts total entities and the amount you're looking at. You can reduce the amount you're looking at by reducing your field of view, which is why I set mine to 30. Once I see the number of entities I'm looking at increase, I know that's where I need to go since bastions have a bunch of dudes hanging around. The bastion is unfortunately buried, but after crashing into the top of a tower, I loot the chest and then dig in further to find out I'm in a stables bastion. I complain about the hoglins as I make my way down so I can finally start my routing. You've seen this bastion before, so I'll be quick. Grab gold, give gold, find the fort direction while they trade, and off I go. I do need to double back for more obsidian since you need a minimum of 20 for both portals, but I nab some out of a random chest and I'm good. Luckily the fort is visible right outside the bastion and the blaze spawner is right next to where I land. I bed the blazes, no dinner required, but I'm not able to handle the sheer number of them and the lack of platform given to me. I eventually get enough rods and make my way out, start a blind, but have to deal with a few zombies as well as a baby, cause screw me I guess. Back in the nether, grab an extra rod, walk a bit, portal out, spawn in the stronghold, and we lose the game. How you may ask? Well, I spent roughly 10 minutes wandering lost in the stronghold because I couldn't find the portal room. Now there is a way to prevent this, and I did know of it, it just didn't work out. To explain simply again, remember the pie doll we used for the fortress? We do something similar here, but we go down a different path in the pie chart, and look at this pinkish orange color. This represents spawners. The larger space it takes up, the closer you are facing a spawner, which the portal room has. The issue being, mine shafts have cave spider spawners that can interfere, causing you to go the wrong way, and other times it can just be a bit confusing on where exactly you need to path. In my case, there was a mine shaft and I just happened to be pathing to it rather than the portal room. So at this point, we're 0 for 3 in our games, but besides the boss, I'd say we've had a pretty good showing so far. I mean, being lost in the stronghold is a bit embarrassing, but we move on to game 4. This time we've had a change of scenery. We're on a shipwreck seed. I enjoy the seed because I get to do the cool underwater portal. I dislike the seed because I'm blind and don't find the underwater ravines to do the cool portal in a timely manner half the time. I leave the ship with 19 iron and a pitiful amount of food. The bad thing regarding the shipwreck seed. You can turn the carrots into golden carrots, but even then you need to have spare gold in the nether, so I try to set some pigs alight for cooked food and take the small portion I'm given. I voyage out into the sea to find a ravine and actually spot it in a timely manner for once. I want to explain how to make an underwater portal too, since doing it feels cool as hell. You find yourself a nice little L shape of magma in the ravine, break out the single block and place a door where it used to be. You slap the 2 extra doors in front of your 2 remaining magma and place the 1 block that just dropped on top of the 1 still standing. You grab the bottom magma block, revealing the lava beneath, and fill your bucket. If there's no lava beneath what you just picked up, break the block and place the lava where the block used to be. Follow the same rule with the lava underneath the final untouched magma block. To be clear, if there is lava underneath, just use the bucketed lava to construct the rest of your portal, and once you're done with the top half, just let the water fill in the rest of your portal for you. Neat, right? Anyways, back to the run at hand, skipping to the bastion. Skipping to the bastion, but I don't die this time. This bastion is actually the one I spoke of regarding interference with locating the fortress, because it has a magma cube spawner. It's called treasure due to the pile of gold located near the spawner. You can see me route it a little as I explain how the game ends. I was making my way to the magma spawner to pop it, and so I can loot the gold at the bottom since I didn't have enough pearls or obsidian to actually leave my bastion yet, but my opponent surrenders. Their reason being that they ended up with no fire res and only having 11 pearls, and unlike me, weren't comfortable with potentially dying at the bottom of treasure. I then told them they could have just made a shield to ignore the lack of fire res and praised for eyes in the portal, as well as for pearls in the stronghold chests. Whether this is sound advice is a separate matter entirely, but they didn't seem to know about the chest thing, so they learned something at least. With my second victory in hand, we move on to game 6, where I'm literally Feinberg and I finished the run in 7 minutes and 35 seconds, because my opponent forfeited after dying the bastion once. On to my next fraudulent win. My opponent FFs again, but not out of rage, they just had to derp. We happened to be typing with each other, and I mentioned that I had died. They offered me a draw vote that I didn't agree to since I always want to play out my games, which is when she FFs saying she needed to go. Now to be clear, if she had stated she needed to go before starting the vote, I would have, but that was not the case.
Editing Seaford here. I would not do this. I would not draw, because I recently just got duped by Mr. Fresh Fuzzy over here, who said his end platform didn't spawn, and what actually happened is that he paused at the stupid platform, fell down to his death, and couldn't be bothered to run again. I dogged that run from the grave, and he lies to me. He lied to me.
Anyhow, this game results in my placement, and I'm Col 3. Now, while this is above Col 1, I feel like leaving there would be a cheap and hollow victory for multiple reasons. For one, placing in a rank system doesn't necessarily mean you deserve said rank. Ranking players is difficult, and I can be dragged to Col 1 if I keep playing. And 2, I haven't won a legitimate game. I've gone 4 out of 7 not through my own merit, but because the masses are feeble and weak-minded. I need to at least set up personal best in ranked. With that being said, game 8, another shipwreck seed, my opponent asks for a seed change, I say no, loot ship, enter nether, go to bastion, die at bastion because there was a pig behind me, collect my stuff, opponent forfeits yet again because they died in the bastion a second time, this time losing all their stuff to lava. This game is a bit different since it has me on it as a temple seed. Very simple stuff, you just head in, blow up all the chests and then pray you can get an actual food source later on because rotten flesh will not be cutting it. In this case, I'm lucky and there's a village nearby, and since I haven't spotted any gravel yet, I go towards it for food and I happen to find out that it's on a beach, which means gravel in the ocean. To be fair, this wasn't my only option and I could have waited for the lava to ignite my leaves, and therefore lighting the portal, but I'd only thought of that as I was writing the script. All that aside, my opponent FFs yet again, though I don't completely comprehend the reason. I think it's because they accidentally went to the fort before the bastion, and I had entered the fort at the same time, already being done with my bastion. Game 10, girl love, boy love, response, and we're in a village. This one being quite a bit different since we're in a snowy place. It means food is more scarce since there aren't any hay bales, and since the blacksmith gives me a single iron ingot, the golem won't be enough to get my 7 iron. I frantically rifle through all the villagers' chests in hopes of iron, and find some extra in this home with a blast furnace. Anyhow, we enter the nether and find the easiest bastion to deal with, Chalice. People call it bridge, but I think that's lame and lumpy, so I'm calling it Chalice. I end up looting it and enter the fortress 27 seconds behind my opponent, which is time I can totally make up. Unfortunately though, as I'm digging down into the stronghold, she's already in the end. It takes me a while to enter the portal room, but I spend a bit too long prepping when I should have just been rushing in, and I lose the run as I start setting off on my one cycle. Game 11 is the opposite of scarce, as this bountiful village gives me a full set of iron armor for free. Unfortunately, I do still need to reduce another iron golem to rubble. It gives me what I need after I cower like a scared, frightened child. I do spend an annoying amount of time looking for food and a lava pool, but I make it through. We spawn next to our bastion, not to be confused with the immortal kind. If you don't get that reference, it's because you don't know the lore of this game, which is good. If you do understand the reference, my condolences. I can only pray you're in one of these two retirement homes. Anyways, I'm very careful with these 2 gold blocks and make myself armor so the other pigs won't be upset at me as I route. We're in another treasure bastion, which is annoying as hell, but we ball. I do my trades and start pie-darring for the fortress, but I end up not seeing it and end up taking a huge detour that costs me around 5 minutes. This time loss isn't recoverable, and while I do end up making it to the end, it just isn't enough for me to close out the game. The next 2 games are forfeits from my opponent, so we'll skip those for the sake of time. Game 14 is pretty standard, except I'm against Batman himself, so I guess I'm just bound to lose as the run heads off to an awful start, with me fumbling my nether portal and having to take an extra 2 minutes to enter the nether. It's yet again another Chalice Bastion, meaning I'm going to have a nice and easy time trading. I make up for my lost time entering the fortress at roughly the same time as Batman, and find both spawners quickly, though I stay at 1 for efficiency's sake. I end up blinding late, which isn't too big of an issue. The big issue is when I come back into the overworld and don't spawn near the stronghold. I end up needing to throw more eyes until I find the correct chunk, and by then I'm almost 6 minutes behind, and when I finally end up in the portal room, he finishes his run. A big, fat L on my part, and completely avoidable. Brushing off that loss, we now have game 15, another standard village seed. We do all our resource gathering and make our way to the bastion, which is another Chalice Bastion, and we're right next to the Chalice, with no pigs to be angry at me when I mine it. I kill off the 2 devil spawn in my way and begin my routing. I do have to faff around with the pigs outside, but it's not too big a deal, and I go loot the chests on each tower. We do end up pie-darring to see the fort is 15 whole chunks away. I make it there pretty quickly, in my opinion, only to realize there's a bit of a crowd waiting for me. Thankfully, they're mostly zombie pigmen, but there are still quite a few wither skellies to get through. I find the spawner and decide to not bed it this time because I'm too high up and I'm not confident in dealing with the increased spawns. I instead use my time between spawns to make my portal. I kill a couple more blazes on my way to the cords I got from my blind. Almost died to a hoglin because they're satanic, and whoever designed and approved those things have issues I'm not sure therapy could solve. But I digress. We arrive at the stronghold, and after pie-darring, we find the portal room relatively quickly. This game is still losable, however, as our opponent has also found the stronghold. I do my end prep as quickly as possible and end up with 7 beds and a bow I didn't forget to craft this time. I also craft 3 usable respawn anchors as assurance and finally hop into the end. I begin by setting up the obsidian needed for my 1 cycle, and then stay around the fountain waiting for a purge. I'm not shooting the end crystals for some reason while doing this, but if you're a runner, you're more concerned with the fact that I'm standing near the fountain, which reduces the chances of a purge. This is because if I stand far away and pile in, I can't properly read the dragon's direction for the 1 cycle, so I'm fine with taking my chances that it just purges for me here and now. The other lesser issue you may find is that I have a random glass bottle in my hotbar. You see, this is some Cold 3 exclusive tech I made, where if there's too much dragon breath around the fountain, I can bottle it to reduce the hitbox it has. Now this may sound big brain as hell, but I recently actually tried testing it and it only kinda works. Fast forwarding to my 1 cycle, the nerves get to me, so I accidentally missed the pick lock to grab my 3rd bed. But I clutch up and pull it out of my inventory. Even with this clutch though, I screw up 3 of my beds, forcing me to start hitting the dragon with my sword. But the dragon is at 3rd HP. I know it isn't enough. I know I can't kill it from this HP, but then I remember my anchors, so I stop desperately swinging at it, and in a final bid to finally win a run, I pull them out of my inventory and get 1 last big blast to send the run home, finishing at 31 minutes and 41 seconds. To be clear, while this is a pretty good run for someone who's only a week in, I think, it actually doesn't beat Ludwig's PB. As it stands, he reigns supreme with a record of 28 minutes and 58 seconds. But I played a couple more games after this, both of which are surrenders, and I ended up in Iron 1. So to conclude, no, Cole 1 is not that hard. I cannot comprehend how he's stuck there.
Hey, editing Seaford here again. Just do a little outro thing, I guess. Ludwig did end up getting out of Call 1 recently, like just a couple of days ago. He placed again because there was a new ranked season, and he ended up in Call 3. He also actually beat his PB, I think it was like 23 minutes, so good for him. And now my video's like outdated. It's like my first time doing something scripted, so I didn't really know how to format the video at all. So there were weird bits where my cadence was off. I didn't really have a clue on how to like do anything, but I think it turned out like at least decent. You know, I tried. Is that what counts? Uh, yeah. Other than that, just wanted to say, have a good day.